You have to be a good neighbor. You have to be a good neighbor. Otherwise, I'm going to be up your butt every day.
Okay, Tunney.
What an alderman. What? Only in Chicago, D. Only in Chicago.
How's it going, everybody? We're live. Live stream chat. What's happening? Kathy, Frank, Pat Rod. Pat Rod has T-shirts for us, by the way, Ben. I've been meaning to tell you that. We got to pick up those T-shirts. He lives, like, right by you.
Dude, let's get the pandemic mobile out.
You hear that, Pat Rod? Let's get the pandemic mobile out. Whatever that means.
Brown line. Hold on. Is that...
All right.
Ah! They made Tunney drive it today. Just for open up your restaurant, you got to drive the brown line. Oh, all right.
And remember what we learned last week? There's that mute button. If ever that brown line comes. Let's do a mute test. By the way, let's get that mute button going. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, I'm talking.
Oh, where'd he go? Where did he go? Ben? Hello? Ben?
And that's why I gave Dennis all that money. So that's what I was saying, okay?
That was great. That was nice.
What can I say? I've been in the game a while, D, okay?
Oh my God. Okay, your Ben Joravsky show is just moments away. It's Thursday, December 10th, by the way. But the Ben Joravsky show is brought to you by the Chicago Reader. For more information on things you need to know about the city of Chicago, you got to check out the Chicago Reader, chicagoreader.com, and subscribe, why don't you? A big way to support this program, if you enjoy it, is to subscribe to the Chicago Reader. Also, today's Ben Joravsky show is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. And, Ben, we also have a sponsor. The Andersonville Chamber of Commerce hosts Andersonville at Home for the holidays. It's a virtual variety show streaming online this Sunday, December 13th at 7 p.m. Tune in for holiday tunes, warm feels, shop, dine, celebrate, and self-care with a Chicago small business community that needs your support. The program premieres both on the Chamber's Facebook and YouTube with live commenting during the show. For more information, go to andersonville.org. And if you see a guy in the corner there in a big giant bubble, that's Ben Joravsky. He's having a good time at the Chamber of Commerce, Andersonville, Home for the holidays. All right, so that was our sponsor. I realized it was a virtual event, so that made no sense, you being in a bubble in a corner.
Okay, let that one just slip by.
We'll get these live reads down one of these days. We'll be editing that one. All right, you have a song of the day, Ben. Your song of the day comes from Alan Sherman, and it's Hello Mutta, Hello Fada.
Do you know that song?
No.
Hold on. That's a great song. Oh, Alan, I love that. We should do a whole show on Alan Sherman. Hello, Mutta. Hello, Fada. How are things at Camp Granada? Something like that.
Well, I gotta say, up until the point where you were saying no words at all, that was pretty good. The Hello Mutta, Hello Fada part was pretty good.
I can't remember. It's something out of Camp Granada. And he's having a miserable time at first. And then all of a sudden he has fun. He goes, forget everything I wrote. Alan Sherman was a genius, ladies and gentlemen. He was a genius.
The Ben Joravsky show starts now. It is Thursday, December 10th. And live from my apartment in his attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, our dear friend, Vincent E. Norment. And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist, Benny J. Ben Joravsky.
Yeah, hello everybody, Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Mind of MAGA Thursday. And here's why. As part of my effort to bridge the political gap that divides us, I'm taking a trip into the mind of MAGA. Yes, it's like that movie starring Raquel Welch from the 60s. I think it was called Fantastic Voyage. Don't quote me on that. Look it up on the internet. You'll see Fantastic Voyage. They go into the body of some human being. Anyway, I'm shrinking into a tiny particle and I'm crawling into the ear of MAGA.
Ooh.
And here I go, down some tube
Gross.
into their brain. It's a barren place. Frozen leaves, haunted, frightened trees, a windy beach. Suddenly, I feel like a character in an apocalyptic song by Bob Dylan. Having made this descent, this is what I discovered. MAGA.
Yeah, what'd you discover? Come on, MAGA. Yeah?
I was waiting for... Wait, who could possibly be calling me at this moment?
Oh, you got a phone call. Awesome.
I got a phone call.
Awesome.
It's, I don't know. I think it's a 888 number. Don't answer that one.
Who's on the line? Who called Ben?
Ooh, it's MAGA.
Double mystery.
Having made a descent into the mind of MAGA, this is what I discovered. They think climate change is a hoax. They think the pandemic is not real. They don't believe they need to wear masks. They believe racism is non-existent, that slavery wasn't so bad. And even if it had its ups and downs, get over it now. They think, in fact, that wearing masks is an infringement on their sacred liberties. On the other hand, they think that the election was stolen from Donnie Trump. They believe that the votes for Trump were thrown away and that votes for Biden were manufactured. And they believe this even if they're not a shred of evidence to substantiate it. In fact, they've taken their case to the U.S. Supreme Court. That's right. The Attorney General of the state of Texas, a man named Kenny Paxton, has asked the Supreme Court to hear his case, arguing that they, the justices of the court, throw away the results in 4 states that went for Biden, which would give the election to Trump. Repeat, cannot emphasize this enough. They want the justices, 3 of whom have been appointed by Donnie, to throw out the results and name Trump the winner, even though Trump lost. Hold on, brown line going by. I'll let it pass to build the suspense. And later in the podcast, Dennis will cut this out, and it'll be as though it didn't exist. Yes. So let me repeat that.
I'm not cutting that out.
Justice to throw out the election. Oh, brown line coming again.
All right.
Let it go.
Let's just power through that brown line. We've been doing this for months, man.
Hey, they're giving out free cinnamon rolls on the brown line. Heck of a job, Alderman Tunney. Heck of a job. Where was I? Oh, yes. They want the justice to throw out the results of the election. And even though they have no proof that there was any voter fraud, they say it doesn't matter. They say that the levels of Biden's deceit were so brilliant that you can't see it. It's like an invisible friend. You know, the friend I talk to when I'm walking down the street, you can't see it, but I can, so therefore it must exist. And so they want the Supremes to believe in the existence of something that cannot be seen, heard, felt, or taste because it exists only in the minds of MAGA. And they want this thing that exists only in the minds of MAGA to substantiate overturning the will of the people. Okay, so here's the deal. Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, is a wacko who, by the way, is indicted on charges of security fraud and recently was accused of bribery. He says the charges are politically motivated, which, by the way, I just want to remind all my MAGA friends out there, is exactly what one Michael Joseph Madigan says. Just saying. Finally, some bipartisanship that we can all agree on. When you get in trouble, blame it on partisanship. Anyway, think about that, folks. The Attorney General of Texas, a real law and order state, the guy in charge of enforcing all the laws in that law and order state, is in fact accused of fraud. That's some law and order you got there, Republicans. So you say, well, Ben, Paxton is a wacko. Well, let me just say this. Ken Paxton has been joined by 17 other Republican attorney generals in his lawsuit. 17 states, folks, and I will now name them: Missouri, Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, and West Virginia. My legal friends, like the great Jim Coogan, say it's a Hail Mary. It's a legal joke. It has no possibility that it will be substantiated by the Supremes. Fair enough. But those 17 attorney generals are so afraid of antagonizing MAGA that they sign on to this wacky scheme to undo the election. Furthermore, Republicans throughout the country are proposing laws to make it even harder to vote by mail, to make it even harder to vote. It's like having invented a problem that does not exist, voter fraud, they're now coming up with proposals to solve it. Because, you know, it's really easy to solve a problem that didn't exist in the first place, although you may create problems with your solutions to the non-existent problem. It's sort of like Trump and his wall. He made up a problem, immigration, in order to solve it by building a wall. And by the way, I just got a little nervous feeling that Alito, Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, they hate the Dems so much that they may sign on for this cockamamie scheme. I'm just saying. I don't know about Neil Gorsuch or Amy Coney Barrett, but I'm a little worried about those others. So in conclusion, MAGA does not believe in things that demonstrably exist, like climate change and racism and the pandemic, but they do believe in something that doesn't exist except in their mind. I'm telling you, folks, the mind of MAGA is a scary place to be. We got a great show today, everybody. Vincent E. Norment, owner of the Marijuana Hall of Fame, will be here. And, you know, Dennis will once again be petitioning for his right to be included in the Marijuana Hall of Fame. And I say he should be put in the Marijuana Hall of Fame. I believe that this young man has spent years of his life working for that honor. I'm going to make his case.
I've never did such a thing.
I should be in the Marijuana Hall of Fame. Yes, I'm going to make that argument, compelling argument. We got a lot to talk about, including the bizarre attitude that Republicans have toward reefer. This is really weird. Like Oklahoma, I don't know if you know this, folks. Oklahoma is becoming like the state where medicinal marijuana is being cultivated. It's like a growing business. And yet Republicans...
Would you call it Toklahoma? Am I right?
That, ladies and gentlemen, is Exhibit A of why this man should be not just in the Marijuana Hall of Fame, but the Jokesters Hall of Fame, the Quipsters Hall of Fame, the Quick on His Feetsters Hall of Fame. Anyway, plenty to talk about with Vincent E. Norment. Before we do that, the young man from Alton, the man Vincent E. Norment calls the doctor, with the news.
All these years. Can't get a first name. Okay. How's it going, everybody? Let's find out what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this afternoon. Today, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker will be delivering his 2:30 COVID-19 update at the Thompson Center. Vaccines are on the way. Governor J.B. Pritzker recently announced that the first delivery of a vaccine could arrive in Illinois as early as next week, although it could take several months before regular Joes like you and me get it until it becomes widely available. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot laid out the city's vaccine distribution plans on Wednesday. Ben, how are we feeling about this today? Are you taking the vaccine?
Wow, I'm all over the map on this one, D.
That's why I put today.
First of all, yeah, that's the today. That was good. Subtle. Went over my head. Right over my head. Well, I thought it was an airplane, but that was subtlety. So, yes, we discussed it. And by the way, I'm blaming this on the bright one. This is the Sun-Times' fault. My indecision, my being like a flag in the wind is the fault of the Sun-Times. And it's a larger issue with the media, if I may raise this point, D, and allow me to raise this point. The media will put something out on Monday, which they will completely refute on Tuesday, but they won't act like what they did on Monday existed. You ever notice that, Dave? I'm just saying, I don't want to sound like a Republican who's always bashing the media. I'm just putting this out there as a guy who has lived within the media universe my entire adult life, working for and having read. It's really prevalent among guys who write sports. Guys who write sports, like they have to have instant opinions about something that took place on Sunday. So like for 6 days, they're predicting, let's say the Bears will win. The Bears are great. The Bears are awesome. Then the Bears will lay a stink bomb on Sunday. And on Monday, they'll be like, oh, yes, everybody knew they had no offensive line. Oh, it's so obvious their quarterback's terrible. And it's as clear as that blue sky in the heavens that they have no offensive scheme. Whatever. All of a sudden, because you see the evidence of how wretched the Bears are, they declare it, and no one mentions the things they wrote the 6 days before that. So it's much the same way in politics with newspapers. And just not just newspapers, but radio, but WBs, all of them. So yesterday, the Sun-Times had this headline: "Shot or not?" And they had a picture of the nurse from Stroger Hospital, and she was uncertain as to whether she would take the vaccine. Remember that, D? We talked about it. Got me all scared. Oh, maybe I shouldn't take it. A good thing I'm not like literally first in line. I'm like Mikey. Remember? No, I'm not. Remember that? Oh, this is one of those millennial moments, D. There was this commercial for cereal way
Life
back when.
cereal, Mikey. Yeah, he likes it.
How was that? Wait, I'm momentarily flummoxed. Was that commercial still playing in the 90s?
There's a lot of There's a lot of references to it,
Yeah, so they would go like the commercial would like they give the cereal to Mikey, he was just like 5-year-old, and they would all look at him, and if he liked it, they would go, okay, we can eat it. Mikey liked it. And so that's kind of what the vaccine is like let's see what happens to the first guys that take it. I think I was talking to a young man named Mick Dumke about this yesterday, and he goes, well, I don't have to worry about it for a few months. So. Anyway, so that was the bright one yesterday. Shot or not? Now today is city's COVID attack plan. Lightfoot details how Chicago will distribute free vaccines to all adults who live and work in the city, beginning with frontline healthcare workers and those most at risk. And it's like, suddenly everything's changed. When am I going to get to take the vaccine? Who's first? Who's second? Who's third? Wait, what about shot or not shot? Oh, that was yesterday's news, Ben. Get over it. So you know what? When I make fun of myself for being a flag blowing in the breeze, which way am I going today? Let me just say, D, I'm not alone in that. I'm not alone in that. So yeah, I have the liberty and luxury of waiting to see how the vaccine works or doesn't work. And, probably take it. I take the flu shot. So I know some people who don't take the flu shot. Oh, no, I'm not sticking that needle in my arm. The doctors be like, take the flu shot. I took the flu shot. My nurses took the flu shot. The guy down the hall take the flu shot. Would you take the flu shot? I know some people go, not going to take it. So I'm going to wait a little while, D. Not that I'm at the front of the line anyway. I'm just going to live in my attic, never leave the house except for late at night when I go for a walk. I see someone coming across the street. That's my existence. Oh, God. So, yeah, right. D, that's where I am, all over the map.
We do have a show tomorrow, so I'll ask how you feel about it tomorrow. It'll probably be completely opposite. So look forward to that, everybody.
It's whatever the Sun-Times headline says.
Yeah, there you go.
Just whichever way the Sun-Times is going that day, I'm heading in the same direction.
Ben's Bible, the Sun-Times. All right. By the way, no public events scheduled for Mayor Lightfoot, but she may be having a quick one-on-one with a recently troubled member of her city council, one who seems to be in a sticky situation. Ben, what can I say? I'm on a roll today. Let's talk more about it. It's time for another episode, a brand new season of our favorite daily Chicago political soap opera, Warm Up the Cinnamon Rolls. It's time for A Mayor and Her Alderman.
A Mayor and Her Alderman.
I want an answer. It's not something you ignore.
I think you're 100% full of shit is what I think. If you think
no offense, well, fuck you then.
Okay.
Whoa,
my, oh my.
Break it up now.
My, oh my.
Raylo, go over there.
Now, that was Raylo, but yes, today's episode of AMAHA is starring the 44th Ward Alderman and owner of the Chicago Breakfast Establishment and Sather, Tom Tunney, who was recently busted for serving seated customers inside his restaurant during the city's pandemic indoor dining ban. Other restaurants in the city and his ward can't have indoor dining. But hey, it's rules for them and not for him. He's allowed. He's doing indoor dining, I guess. And even he had customers use a secret code to do so. Guys, the Pillsbury ones aren't that bad. Do we need to go to these measures for cinnamon rolls? The following comes from the Chicago Tribune and Gregory Pratt. Mayor Lori Lightfoot said she's, quote, deeply disappointed in Wrigleyville Alderman Tom Tunney after the longtime alderman acknowledged letting people eat inside his Ann Sather restaurant, despite city and state rules designed to help stop the spread of the coronavirus. Tunney, whose restaurant is now facing up to $10,500 in possible fines from the city, Lightfoot said Wednesday that Tunney, quote, knows what he did is wrong, and he will absolutely be held accountable. Here's more from Lightfoot. Quote, I've heard from a number of restaurateurs about this issue, but the one thing they've consistently said to me throughout this very difficult year for them is just be fair. Make sure that whatever the rules are, that they are enforced uniformly, that there's no exceptions. And when people break those rules, they are held accountable. Alderman Tunney understands that he made an intentional decision to break those rules. He didn't just break them as a business person. He broke them as an alderman who swore an oath to live and abide by a higher set of standards than the average person. And that's one of the things I've been hearing a lot from people that's made them really angry and animated about this.
Well, lots to unpack there. And I'll try to say cool, calm, and collected, D, as I do the unpacking, because I've discovered, D, that going on riffs, ranting riffs, I should say, does not work well. And that people say, Ben, you should be calm, you should be cool, you should be measured. You should pretend as though, really just try to get through one segment on Tom Tunney as though you work for NPR, okay? And be calm and dispassionate and measured and maybe a little ironic, just a touch, so that everyone knows how smart you are. And if they get it, they feel smart too. So that's what I'm gonna do, D, you ready? Okay, so here we go. No rant, no losing composure, no banging table, just cool and calm.
No, this is boring podcast content.
Well, it works for NPR. A lot of people listen to BZ, all right? You know, I really like that dispassionate way they go about things.
Please don't do this. This cool, comic collected thing. No.
So, let me understand this. I'm just trying to understand this. The mayor's deeply disappointed. The Bright One had that in the headline as well. Mayor deeply disappointed in Tunney for violating indoor dining ban. A curiously different reaction, I would say, to Thomas Tunney, the alderman from the 44th Ward on the North Lakefront. And let me point out that the North Lakefront is Lightfoot country. They love Lori Lightfoot on the north side of Chicago, D, the way you love Ann Sather's cinnamon rolls. It is just undeniable. They salivate. Just the thought of Lori Lightfoot on the north side. She's our mayor. We love her. Ben, don't say anything bad about her. I would almost say they love Lori Lightfoot more on the north side of Chicago than Northsiders love Rahm. And they love Rahm. I thought it was 75% of the vote for Rahm. Close all those schools, close all those clinics. We still like him. He knows how to run a city. He's forceful. Sometimes you have to close schools, not my schools, but somebody else's schools. That's how you do it, Ben. And sometimes you have to close mental health clinics, not my mental health clinics, but those mental health clinics. See, Ben, you got to get rough. You got to be cruel to be kind. That's how you run a city. I live in the north side. I got everything taken care of. I don't worry about, poor people, south side, west side. Come on, Ben. Oh, okay, I understand. Cool, calm, collected. So I would just say there's an appearance of a double standard. When Raylo asks a legitimate question, okay, maybe he did go into Trump country. Part of the, okay, I grant that. But when he asks a question about a legitimate issue, such as the disbursement of police in the midst of rioting and looting. Lori Lightfoot, says he's 100% full of shit. I'm just saying what she said, D. When Thomas T. Tunney, and I just put the T in there because I wanted to. I have no idea if he even has a middle initial. When Tom Tunney...
Triple T. Tommy T. Tunney here.
blatantly breaks the rules, violates the law, Tom Tunney, that Mayor Lightfoot chose to run the most, well, no, that's not fair. The about second most powerful and important committee in the Chicago City Council, the zoning committee, that oversees zoning matters for all properties. No development deal can happen in the city of Chicago if Tommy Tunney's committee doesn't give it the okay. So this is a very powerful, important official in the city of Chicago. And when this man blatantly violates the rules and is only caught because a Second City cop, got to give him credit again, D. Third day in a row, I'm giving you credit, Second City cop. When he is caught violating the rules, she's just deeply disappointed. Come on. I don't know. There's got to be more punishment than that. There's got to be more consequences than that. And she said in that statement you just read that Tunney understands he made an intentional decision to break the rules. I gotta disagree with you, Mayor Lightfoot. And at the risk of offending all of my neighbors on the north side, I just have to articulate my disagreement with you. I've seen no sign whatsoever that Tom Tunney recognizes that he made an intentional decision to break the rules. Oh, no. I think what Tom Tunney said was, I made a mistake, right? I pointed out a mistake is when you add 3 + 3 and get 7. That's a mistake. And then you take a pencil and your eraser and you erase out the 7 and write a 6. I think Tom Tunney only regrets that he got caught. I think Tom Tunney, here comes a rant. Gotta stay cool, gotta stay calm.
No, you don't. Go for it. Come on.
I think that Tom Tunney's only regret is Second City cop, as one of his employees said, ratted him out. You know? So it's just like the appearance of a double standard. Why this guy is the head of the zoning committee, I do not understand. We already voted against her budget. Isn't that interesting? When JT, the great Jeanette Taylor, 20th Ward, said that she could not vote for the budget. She had a lot of objection to it. Mayor Lori Lightfoot said, what did she say to her, D? What was the quote? Don't come to me for shit.
Yeah, that's it. For shit, yeah.
Don't come to me for shit. Well, when Tommy Tunney votes against the budget, oh, well, you know, hey, it's your opinion. I got my opinion. You get to be zoning chair. When Tommy Tunney blatantly breaks the law and undercuts everything that Pritzker's trying to do in the face of a bunch of fanatics with their Pritzker sucks signs, oh, well, I'm disappointed. So I'm disappointed in that reaction from the mayor. You know what I'm saying, D? It just seems to me that if a Northsider breaks the rules, oh, well, it's just a mistake. I'm disappointed. What, are they going to fine the guy? The guy's like a gazillionaire, right? He's got money. They get $5,000. I don't know what the fine's going to be. So, D, I just have to say I'm deeply disappointed in Mayor Lightfoot's reaction to Tom Tunney, and I'm deeply disappointed in Tom Tunney's decision to run a cinnamon roll speakeasy with its own code to get in. What a city! What a city! We're the bluest city in America. We're supposed to be championing the cause of prudent health measurements. We're supposed to be supporting J.B. Pritzker in his lonely, valiant effort to keep Illinois from killing itself with this disease. And one of the most powerful aldermen in the city of Chicago is running an illegal cinnamon roll speakeasy, just in defiance of everything. And you wonder, Democrats, why MAGA people don't trust you.
Shout out to Michael Girardi on the live stream chat. He has that middle name for Tommy T. Tunney. Thomas Tiff Tunney.
Yes, you're right about that, Michael Girardi. I don't know if there was ever a TIF deal that he didn't vote for, but he voted against the mayor on the last budget because, well, I'm worried about property taxes. That's funny. You weren't so worried about property taxes when it came to jacking them up to give money to Sterling Bank. By the way, if I could just say so on this little tangent, D, great interview with the Tuttons of the Hideout yesterday, which is dropping this weekend. We take the deep dive in the Lincoln Yard TIF deal. We go back in time. The Tuttons, Timmy Tutton and Katie Tutton, who run the Hideout, were in the movie City So Real, part of my ongoing series about the City So Real, which movie I love a little too much, I think. I interviewed the Tuttons yesterday. It was a classic interview. We were talking about the TIF. But you're so correct, Mike Girardi. The man always votes for TIF deals. Handouts for developers who don't need it. You know, probably gives them a little cinnamon roll. Here, have a cinnamon roll with the handout.
And you know, it doesn't get talked about enough. We're kind of sleeping on the omelets. Those are really good at Aunt Sather, too. They're really good.
Yeah, just not going to. They're pretty. I'm not a big fan of the omelets. I've had the omelets in Aunt Sather. Just saying, D.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of the restaurant. I mean, what the hell are you doing with this speakeasy? Whatever. I mean, it's a good restaurant.
I like the restaurant. Don't get me wrong. I like the restaurant. Just not a fan of the omelet.
I mean, sure, we're probably kicked out of there for life now, but, you know, whatever. All right, so we have Governor Pritzker. Governor Pritzker weighed in on Tunney's decision as well. We read a little bit. We read a little bit yesterday, but this one is a little more has a little more punch to it. Pritzker said to Tunney, "Shame on him. Shame on him for having people in a room packed together, not wearing a mask. He knows better. He should know better. If he doesn't, maybe he shouldn't be in the General Assembly."
He said that?
Yes,
the
sir.
General Assembly?
Yes, sir.
At City Council. JB, look, I'm going to go easy. I make mistakes all the time, too, okay? He's in the City Council, not the General Assembly. But point well taken. I agree with the gist of what you were saying, JB.
Yeah, sorry, JB. Our host is just pretty big geek, all right? Sorry about that.
Yeah. By the way, did you like how I got through that entire Tom Tutty thing without, going on a rant?
Were we listening to the same thing?
I mean, a rantless rave. Dispassionate. Oh, interesting. The governor said to do one thing, and one of the most powerful aldermen in the Chicago City Council just did what he wanted to do. And guess what? There's no consequences. Hey, man, what did Lori Lightfoot say about the guy in the car? What was that one again, D? Remember the guy in the car? I don't even know what the guy did that got her so upset. She was going to.
It had nothing to do with it. It was just like an analogy she was saying. No one was like, I want to go on a car ride with you. It was like an analogy about younger people, spreading COVID. And for some reason, this statement came.
I won't just turn the car around. I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to kick you out, and I'm going to make you walk home.
Yeah, why don't you do that to Tommy? Make him walk home. I don't know. I just think that the mayor's a lot harder on just like faceless, nameless millennials in cars who aren't wearing masks. And, then the guy playing basketball. Remember how hard she was on the guy playing basketball? Remember that one, D?
Mm-hmm.
That was early on.
You say guy, it was kids.
It was young men playing basketball. And then, of course, the Great Lakefront thing where the people who run the Lightfoot administration woke up and realized that when the weather gets nice, people go to the lake. When the weather finally gets nice after a long, cold, lonely winter, as George Harrison would say, people run to the lakefront. Probably butchered that line by George Harrison, but doesn't matter. Anyway, remember that one, D? I'm going to shut down the lakefront. So, different standards, D. Different standards.
Hey, we haven't talked Madigan Gate in a while. Madigan Gate, the time when utility giants ComEd admitted to arranging jobs, contracts, and payoffs to the associates of one Michael Joseph Madigan. After the November election, we've had a lot more Democratic politicians coming out and either calling for Madigan's resignation or announcing that they will not be supporting Madigan for re-election. 19 Democratic House members, along with Senators Duckworth and Durbin and Governor Pritzker included. Speaker Madigan could actually lose re-election here. But many political bigwigs have been saying it. You can never count Speaker Madigan out. He's a damn crafty politician. The speaker picked up some much-needed Democratic support on Wednesday. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Mark Brown. Members of the Illinois House Black Caucus announced Wednesday night their group's support for embattled Speaker Michael Madigan to remain in his position for another term, complicating the effort to remove him. The move had been expected since the caucus heard pitches Saturday from Madigan and his only announced opponent, State Representative Stephanie Kivowit of Oswego, in a meeting orchestrated by the Speaker's allies. Here's a group statement from the Black Caucus, quote, "After analysis, we believe our caucus is in a more advantageous position under the leadership of Speaker Madigan to deliver on our priorities. The Black Caucus has spent the last half of the year preparing an ambitious legislative agenda in response to the issues raised by the Black Lives Matter movement and civil unrest following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. The lawmakers suggested Madigan gives them the best chance of passing it." The statement added, quote, "We need a speaker that will provide strong, consistent leadership and support for the challenges ahead." At Saturday's meeting, reported exclusively by the Sun-Times, Madigan pledged his support to the Black Caucus agenda and to raise the state's income tax if Governor J.B. Pritzker seeks to do so.
Raise the state's income tax. Now that the fair tax went down in flames, the fair tax would have raised the rates on the highest earners, the wealthiest people in the state. Instead, they're going to raise the rates on all of us. Heck of a job, voters of Illinois. Let me just say that. Heck of a job. Your taxes are about to go up even more than they were going to go up. Where's Phyllis? Quick, make another commercial, Phyllis. What can I say about this, Steve? Man, sometimes politics in Illinois, it's just like too amazing to believe. All right. So we just got finished talking about the cinnamon roll speakeasy. We're the third most powerful alderman in Chicago City Council, I'd say, gets a slap on the wrist for openly defying Governor Pritzker's rules that all the other restaurant people are supposed to follow. Slap on the wrist. That's it. And now the members of the Black Caucus are justifying keeping Michael Madigan in on the grounds that he's a leader in the movement for civil rights. Man, you stick around Illinois, you'll see it all. The evolution of Michael Joseph Madigan. I remember Madigan in the 80s when Council Wars was flaring and Harold Washington was under siege from white aldermen in the Chicago City Council who were trying to sabotage his administration. Because how dare the city elect a black man, an independent-minded black man at that, mayor in Chicago. Michael Madigan was nowhere to be found in that one. I'm not getting involved with that. Oh, no. Because Michael Madigan's base of support is the southwest side of Chicago. And not a lot of support back in those days for Harold Washington in the 13th Ward or anywhere near it. But as Rich Miller pointed out, over the years, Michael Madigan, been very resourceful, has kind of moved to the left more and more. And it's all about taking care of his caucus members. That's what Michael Madigan's all about. He's all about staying in power. And staying in power means passing legislation when necessary that will benefit his caucus members so they get reelected. If they get reelected, then he stays in power as speaker. That's how it works. If it means withholding legislation, that progressive legislation that people might like, that are of the lefty persuasion, like on a fair tax a few years ago, he'll do that. Why? Because that would put some of his caucus members in jeopardy. That's how he plays the game, folks. It's not like he has a fixed ideology about government. It's not like he woke up and said, you know what? I'm outraged by what happened to George Floyd in Minnesota, and we have to have more fair, more equitable criminal justice enforcement. We cannot allow policemen just shooting or murdering black people by suffocating them. No, it's not like he did that at all, but he's a practical, pragmatic guy. And he goes, this is the direction my party is going. This is what my caucus members need to pass in order to stay in office. So I'll help him out a little bit. I don't know how far he'll go in that direction, but that's the calculated move that all of them are making. This is a very complicated game of political chess, Steve. We talked about this with Jamie Andrade. Another shout out for a show that's going to be dropping this weekend. And Jamie is a state rep from the Northwest side, and he's a Madigan supporter. He came on, he goes, Ben, ask me the Madigan question. I'm ready for it. And he defended Madigan. And he did a counterattack on the representatives who have spoken out against Madigan. And he made a point of saying that they come from white districts. And he talked about being against Madigan is a sign of white privilege. So it's an interesting counterattack that Jamie Andrade used to defend his decision to stay with Michael Madigan. And I had a sense, this is where we're going. We're going with this one. So that's where we're at, D. But it's I look, there's 22 members of the Black Caucus. They have the ability really to, they could determine who the next speaker is. So if they got behind a member of their own caucus, there's a good chance that that member would be the next speaker. Chris Welch, talked about him, the state rep from the western suburbs, might be him. Jahan Gordon Booth, the state rep from Peoria, been on this show, both of them have, might be her. So they have that ability, that power. But right now, they're choosing not to use it. Well, folks, we don't know how this game is going to be played out. I mean, we have a long way to go in this thing because right now, Michael Madigan does not have the 60 votes he needs to be elected Speaker of the House. On the other hand, nobody else has the 60 votes they need to be elected Speaker of the House. And the only person who has announced that she would run against Madigan is a state rep who is so little known that I can't remember her name at the moment.
Kifowit.
Yes, Kifowit. Stephanie Kifowit of Oswego. So it's going to be a showdown. And what Jamie Andrade was saying is that the House members, the Democratic House Caucus will meet, and a majority of them will vote for Madigan, and they will advance Madigan's name to the floor of the House, where there'll be a lot of pressure on those 19 Democrats who've said they won't vote for Madigan. There'll be a lot of pressure for them to maintain that stance because it's either Madigan, which is what your party wants, and you're a member of the Democratic Caucus, or Jim Durkin, a Republican. And there's no way they're going to vote for Durkin. So, D, will they fold? Will they do a flip-flop? I've been known to do flip-flops. I can provide every one of them with the sound effect of the flip-flop. Or will there be a stalemate and then members of the Black Democratic Caucus say, well, we gave you a shot, Michael. Now we're going to put, Chris Welch's name forward. A lot of wheeling and dealing left to go in this game, D. It's not over yet.
All right. And, you asked. Phyllis is here.
Springfield politicians, they promise they won't tax retirement income if their constitutional amendment passes.
Ask and you shall receive. There she is.
I gotta miss Phyllis.
Do you?
Really miss those commercials. You know what I'm saying, D? Well, the guys on the Northwest side, sounds good to me. I'll vote against my own interest because Phyllis said so. The voters of Chicago, 44th Ward voters, love those cinnamon rolls, D.
By the way, for those wondering, yes, there's still a giant bus waiting, parked outside, a bus packed full of Democratic politicians here in Illinois, waiting to roll over the speaker. And not go figuratively run him over, by the way, for his reelection. The bus is looking a little shaky here. Guys, it's going to be okay. Stay on. Nobody jump off. It's just getting a little worrisome. It's going to be okay. No one jump off.
You think Will Kazardi's getting a little nervous now?
I wasn't going to say it, but that's the guy I'm worried about.
Oh, boy, it's getting a little nervous in here. Oh. Oh, Speaker Madigan. They're probably calling Madigan. I didn't mean to do it. It's that dentist made me do it. That Dr. D, he made me do it. They're blaming you, D.
Ben, by the way, you on or off the bus?
Where was I? I can't remember. Where was I the last time?
I don't know.
I think I'm still, wait, hold on. I need a little help here, D. Sorry about this. If I'm on the bus, that means I'm against Madigan, correct? Is that right? Yeah? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the bus right now. Sorry. Come on, Chris Welch. Get in there and run. All right?
Wow. That was a surprisingly quick answer.
Well, they're usually quick. The problem is they change from day to day. Okay? Hold on. The phone's ringing, D. Oh, Speaker Madigan. Oh, so interesting that you would call at this moment. I did not mean when I said that. Dennis made me say that. All right, gotta go.
Madigan, wait, hold on. Kyle on the live stream chat, he weighed in. He says, boy, when it comes to having a consistent thought without flip-flopping about Madigan, Ben is folded faster than Superman on laundry day.
Is that an original line? That's actually pretty funny. Is that or is that like from Superman or something? It's true, guys. I've been known to flip-flop on Michael Joseph Madigan, mainly because it's like hard to hold him to standards when the Republicans don't hold any of their guys to standards. And by the way, there's a part of me that's very sympathetic to his argument, which Jamie Andrade pointed out. But I got a little sympathy. Uh-oh, D. I feel a flip-flop coming on in the middle of a show.
No.
Here we go. I feel a flipper coming. I mean, really, what do you do? Let me ask you this, listeners. If Commonwealth Edison came to you and go, we're going to put your best friends on the payroll just because we like you, would you say no? Come on. Huh? Yeah. A little honesty, listeners. Would you say no if someone just offered you jobs and contracts? Not even you, your friends. If Commonwealth Edison came to me and go, look, we're going to put Dr. D on the payroll as a speechwriter. We're going to pay him $100,000 a year. He doesn't have to write a speech. All he has to do is show up every day on your show. What would I do, D?
I'd be fired in a week. They'd be like, Dennis, where are the big words at in these speeches? We need to sound smart. We need big words. I don't know any.
But D, could you imagine how mad you would be at me if I turned it down? If I told you, Dennis, I got an offer that would have given you $100,000 to be a speechwriter for Commonwealth Edison, but damn it, I turned it down because my integrity is worth more than that. I know you applaud my turning down of the $100,000 that you would get. You're like, no, I want the $100,000. I'm just saying, folks, don't act like you're above it all. Okay, just saying, just throwing it out there. So D, flip-flop time. I'm with Michael Joseph Madigan all the way.
Now, it's funny. Earlier, you were getting on the Sun Times about how that one day they're this and the next day they're that. What do I do? And look at this guy.
Yeah, at least I admit it. Okay? Sometimes it's like there's no recognition whatsoever that their front page yesterday was the exact opposite of their front page today. That's the point. At least I admit it when I flip-flop, which I've been known to do in the middle of a show.
Well, yeah.
But I'm sticking with that. That's it for the rest of the day.
Okay, yes, all right.
I'm with Madigan.
Guys, if anyone is believing him right now that's listening to this, you have
By the way, can I do another? Oh, my God. We are going to do the deep dive on Madigan Gate. Yes, Mad Dog. We got Danny Mialopoulos from BEZ coming on next week. We just like Mad Dog from start to finish, A to Z. I cannot wait for that one, D.
Yeah,
Danny Mialopoulos.
We talked with the Northwest Side political know-it-alls. It's going to be available for download this weekend on the Chicago Reader website and wherever else you download podcasts. Yeah, Jamie Andrade brought up some interesting points there when it comes to Madigan Gate, and we highly suggest that you check that out for more content. All right, Frank weighed in on the live stream chat. He says, I want KC Kelly Cassidy for speaker.
I love KC. I'm with you, Frank. I love K. Uh-oh, here comes another flip-flop.
Okay.
I do love KC. I don't think she's got the vote. She's got to announce that she's running. That's the problem, right? You can't get the votes unless you run, you know? Every now and then someone will say, Ben, why don't you run for fill in the blank? Alderman, like, are you crazy? So, you know, KC's playing with the cards close to her, chest there, D. She's like, I'm not letting anybody see what my next play is going to be. So maybe behind the scenes, she's making phone calls. But right now, she's not, letting the world know that she's running against Michael Madigan.
Shout out to Kyle. He says that Superman laundry line, not an original line. He got that from The Simpsons.
Oh, that's a great line. So, hey, by the way, weren't you and I talking about The Simpsons today?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. We were talking about I was talking about how Katie Tutton, who we interviewed yesterday, sounds like the sisters in The Simpsons, Marge's sisters in The Simpsons. Then we went on this whole thing about how much we love the people who do the voices in The Simpsons. So, yes, a lot of Simpson talk in the Ben Joravsky Show.
All right, everybody, that's our local news. Remember, you can find us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send us an email. Always send us an email, BennyJShow@gmail.com. And you can call us, 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788. Call the Ben Joravsky Show and leave us a voicemail, because we're not going to answer it. So, yeah, leave us a voicemail. There's a good chance we will play that voicemail on our program. It's always a good time. And, give us a holiday wish or something. I don't know. But I'm looking here on our email. Looks like we have no new emails to read. So I'd say that's good. All right. Yeah. So we're, Ben, anything you'd like to add before we take our break?
Yes, I would like to add. And I haven't lined up a guest to discuss this, but this story has been on my mind. I don't know if Illinois joined the move, but I think it's 40 states and the FTC to go to court to break up Facebook. This is interesting, a little dilemma here. Now, I say this, I'm on Facebook. The show is on Facebook, but as Dennis knows, and I'm not a big Facebook user. I post my articles, my reader columns on Facebook, and from time to time when I remember, I post interviews on Facebook that we do in the show. But I'm not really a fan of Facebook, and I've stopped doing Instagram completely. Dennis, I got to get back in on that. He's always Ben, have you done any Instagram posting lately? But
oh man,
so not a big fan of Facebook. But that said, very interesting article. And here's another one, D. I'm all over the map on this one. But I mean, this is tough. This is a really tough decision. So follow me in this, ladies and gentlemen. Essentially, the way Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook operates is that when they see any company out there that could be a potential competitor to them, that they may have reason to think might challenge their control of social media platforms, they buy the company. And in fact, they'll go, name your price. They'll give them an offer they can't refuse. And the company buys them and becomes part of the Facebook empire. And that way, Facebook emerges with even more power and more control over the social media network. And 40 states and the FTC have said that, the Federal Trade Commission have said that that's a violation of antitrust law, that essentially Facebook is, I don't know if they use the word gangster, but it's like gangster moves by Facebook to have more power and more control and more dominance than any one company should have. And I'm very sympathetic to that. But on the other hand, I mean, they gave an offer they couldn't refuse. How much did they offer WhatsApp? $12 billion, I think. I'm doing this off the top of my head, D. I can't. And Instagram, they offered Instagram over $1 billion. So, if Facebook came to me and Dr. D and said, Oh, we really love the Ben Joravsky Show. We're going to offer you $5 billion to turn your operation over to us. I don't know. T and I would be up. Well, what do you think? We can maintain our independence, or we can have $5 billion. I think Dennis would go, take the $5 billion. So it's kind of hard for me to really, get into the whole anti-Facebook thing. I noticed they don't pay a dividend to their stock holders. So in other words, what they're essentially telling the stockholders is, you give us your money, you invest in our company, we're going to take that money and buy other companies. We're going to get bigger and more powerful. We're going to control the world. So I don't know, D. I may be flip-flopping on this one even more than I'm flip-flopping on Madigan Doggate, which is a lot. But I'll be watching this one, and I just Illinois is one of the states, one of the 40 states. Kwame Raoul signed on to that. Illinois, by the way, I just want to point out, is not one of the states that has joined Attorney General Ken Paxton of Texas and his effort to undo the election. Hail Mary, under the Supreme Court. Happy to say, proud to say, that Illinois is not one of those states. So, going to talk about Facebook. I'm going to try to get somebody on who knows a thing or two about antitrust law, get their thoughts on this, maybe help me come to a decision as to what I think. I need help knowing what I think.
At Benny J Show. Find us on Facebook, all right? Leave us a message. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, Vincent E. Norment. I think it's his live show debut, is it not? Or he may have did a cannabis conversation with Lisa.
Yeah, he did a live show. I can't remember when. He's been on so many times, I can't remember when. I know he did a live show.
All right, well, he's coming back, and we're going to play a little Ricky Hendon, little holiday song from Ricky Hendon, and the Ben Joravsky Show will return after that. It is the Ben Joravsky Show. We are live from my apartment in Ben's attic.
Let me be your fantasy. Baby, like the tree, I will be all that you need. Unwrap you underneath the mistletoe. We can sip some wine, kiss you from head to toe. Baby, don't you ever let me go. I want you to know it's alright. Wishing you'd be my boo. Can you please be my Christmas? Come wrap your arms around me. Wishing please can you be with me, baby, on this Christmas? I'm satisfied now, baby. Step this way. Come on, baby, ride with me in my sleigh. Tonight we're gonna party, girl, it's time to play our favorite game. And you gon' do it on Christmas Day and go all the way. Merry Christmas, baby. 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 Feliz Navidad, baby. Feliz Navidad. Wishing you'd be my boo. Can you please be my Christmas? Be my Christmas, baby. Be my Christmas, baby. Wishing please can you be with me, baby, on this Christmas? I got something very nice for you, and got your shorty favorite too, baby. Your stuff, my stuff, right here, baby. Your stuff, my stuff, right here, baby. We want some gifts. Gotta have some gifts. We want some gifts. Gotta have some gifts. Be my Christmas baby. I got you your Christmas wish. Santa gave me your respect. Come wrap your arms around me. Wishing you be my boo.
Hey, the Andersonville Chamber of Commerce hosts Andersonville at Home for the holidays. It's a virtual variety show streaming online this Sunday, December 13th at 7 p.m. Tune in for holiday tunes, warm feels, shop, dine, celebrate, and self-care with a Chicago small business community that needs your support. The program premieres on both the Chamber's Facebook and YouTube with live commenting during the show. For more information, go to andersonville.org. Hour number 2 of the Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you in part by the Chicago Reader and the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, take it away.
Vincent E. Norment.
Yes, sir.
Marijuana Hall of Fame. We can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear, and we can even see you. You can't see me because I don't have a camera on my computer, but I'm going to get one real soon. Vincent E. Norment, good friend of the Ben Joravsky Show. Welcome back, Vincent.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, lots to talk about. Lots and lots and lots of stuff to talk about with Vincent. A little politics talk, a little sports talk, and a lot of reefer talk. And I just want to start with the sports talk, all right, Dennis? But there's political ramifications to this. Yes, and I'm gonna put this out there and get your response. I'm a lifelong Chicago Bears fan. The first football team I ever loved was the Bears. Gale Sayers, Dick Butkus, Bobby Douglas. I go back, okay? Dick Gordon. Love the Bears, all right? Walter Sweetness Payton, Jim McMahon, the Fridge, etc., and so forth. Super Bowl winners in 1986. But I have quit on the Bears, and I'll tell you why. I believe, Vincent E. Norment, that the Chicago Bears management is, I don't want to say racist because that's such a loaded term, prejudiced. And they're prejudiced against black people who play quarterback. And I'm saying this right now because they could have drafted Patrick Mahomes, who's probably going to be the greatest quarterback of all time when all is said and done. You could argue Tom Brady, it's early. Tommy Brady is hard to argue against. Vincent E. Norman. But Patrick Mahomes, man, every time I watch that guy, I'm like, oh my God, the Bears could have drafted him. And if that wasn't bad enough, okay, the number 2 quarterback, in my humble opinion, in the NFL right now is Desean Watson, and he'll be playing against the Bears this weekend. He could have been drafted in that same draft. The Bears didn't even give him an interview, Vincent E. Norman. They didn't give him an interview, and instead they traded up. They gave away players for the rights to Mitch Trubisky, who's terrible. Vincent E. Norman, I look at what Patrick Mahomes and Watson have in common. They're both black men. I look at Mitch Trubisky, a white man. I come to the conclusion, based on that evidence, that the Bears have a bias against black quarterbacks. Your response?
I think you're right. I think that, we do kind of like, for the listeners, they'll be like, well, they had Cordell Stewart and they had,
Vince Evans,
black quarterback before the Vince Evans. But that's been a long time coming. And there's been a slew of black quarterbacks that's come into the NFL, pretty much ripping the football field apart. And yet we're stuck with a quarterback that can't even get the ball 60 yards down the field, can't even read defenses, but we traded up for him. So I think you're right. I think there's a true bias. We can't say racist because they do have black players on the field, but we know that in that position, there is a prejudice amongst quarterbacks. So I agree.
Yeah, and it's very bizarre that it still lingers, Vincent. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you and I, well, I'm old, and I know that bias was so prevalent when I was a kid coming up. It was just like, well, if you had a black quarterback from a historically black college coming into the pros, they'd move him to wide receiver. You know, they move him to defensive back even. You know what I'm saying? But they would not let the guy. But Doug Williams was the only one I could think of that the Washington football team, I will not say their names, kept him at quarterback. But most of them, let's move them to the back, to the wide receiver. That bias exists in the 60s and 70s. What's...
Yeah, I mean, Doug Williams was, definitely a pioneer. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers picked him in the first round, one of the few first, actually, black quarterbacks to be picked in the first round. So he had a head start. They believed in him out there in Tampa Bay. He had a pretty good career there. He got injured and then went on to Washington, the Redskins, at the time Redskins, and won the Super Bowl. As times has changed, and just the Chicago Bears haven't caught up yet.
Do you still root for him, Vincent?
I want the coach fired, and I tell you why. They fired Lovie Smith, that finished the season 10-6, and by the way, went to the Super Bowl, almost won. That's another story. They fired him at 10-6. This coach here, Nagy, has lost 6 games in a row. He should be fired. I'm on record as saying that. He started out 5-1, but this guy hasn't done nothing for us here in Chicago. Fire him. If he had been a black man, an African American, he would have been fired, point blank.
Well, I don't know if he would have gotten the job in the first place if he'd been a black man. But what about Ryan Pace, the general manager, who's responsible for bypassing Patrick Mahomes and Desean Watson and taking Mitch Trubisky? What about his future?
He should go right with him. Pack your bags. Pack your bags and go. And here's a prime example. Detroit. They fired the general manager and the coach in mid-season. If you cannot produce, you should be fired. He should be fired.
At the very least, I believe some kind of explanation should be offered, and it should be confronted. I know so many people who view it the way I just expressed it, Vincent, who believe there's a bias that the Bears have, and I think the Bears owe it to people just to come forth and say, do you have, explain, no, we don't have a bias. And this is why we took Trubisky over these 2 exceedingly talented quarterbacks. I believe they owe that as an explanation to people. And instead, to pretend like it doesn't exist is an insult.
You won't get that apology. You won't get any, excuse or any kind of recognition on why. They're not going to get that to you. This is a system where they feel that they picked the right guy. They know that they're wrong now, and so they just hope that it plays out, the way it is. But by the way, there's a quarterback that's sitting on the bench or injured. I think they're paying him somewhere like $15-20 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And we won't talk about the black quarterbacks that they passed up and free agent that they could have picked up.
Colin Kaepernick, you mean? That one? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. No. God forbid they have Colin Kaepernick on their football team. All right, well, I'm through with the Bears, so let's move on, and let's get ourselves a cannabis update. In the state of Illinois, you've come on many times to talk about the inequities of the cannabis program in the state of Illinois. The Illinois is very proud of the fact that they legalized cannabis for recreational use, not just medicinal use. And they said it would be the first step toward eradicating the injustices created by the war on drugs for years and years. And guessing what? Lo and behold, I don't think there's still, it's like as bad as the Bears. There's still no dispensaries owned by black people. So help me out, Vincent.
Or women or Latinos in the state of Illinois. That's really unacceptable. The writing was on the wall. Again, the rich get richer. I am going to hope and I am going to advocate that these companies, I won't mention any names, but I will say this. I hope that they do the right thing. I hope they, right the wrong. Hope they put up some funds for minority-owned applicants, as well as, women, Latinos, and really just, fix this problem, because it starts at the top. But, we're not going to let the politicians off the hook. We're not going to let JB off the hook, Governor. We're not going to let Tory Hutchinson off the hook. We're definitely not going to let the Black Caucus off the hook, or any other aldermen that want to stick their toe in the water. Leadership is poor here in Illinois, and we need to hold these people accountable. So if you got to vote, the next time you vote, let's vote for people that's going to do the right thing for the state of Illinois and include everybody, inclusion, the way it should be. Because evidently the leadership here is really broken. It needs to be fixed. We got to stop putting people in office that's doing the same thing. We got to stop that.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever get an explanation, at least privately, from the powers that be in the state of Illinois as to what went down that led to the situation where so many white firms were at the front of the list?
No. Everybody has kind of danced around the question. We really haven't got a solid answer. I feel bad when, I campaigned for JB. I posted him up on my social media. I told my, my people to get the vote out. Let's vote for him. And, so if I had to take my vote back, I would, and for that reason, for the simple fact that this just not panning out like it's supposed to. And it goes back to the question of, Democrats are so comfortable in getting the black votes that, they sit, they get them, and then they don't do anything. So there's going to be some things changing and should be changing. And, speaking of Stacey Abrams, her birthday's today, so I want to give her a shout out in Georgia. I know that's kind of going into another state, mm-hmm. but those people got out and they voted and they turned a red state into a blue state. Hallelujah. Let's get it.
By the way, for a while there, you were heading into what I call Ice Cube country, one of our favorite topics. Vincent and I love having a little Ice Cube conversation. Ice Cube, the enormously successful businessman, who producer, director, writer, musician, actor, all these things, got himself into political hot water by sort of endorsing Donald John Trump. And he said it was because he got a better response from Trump to his plan to spend money in the black community. And then he kind of went underground for a while, Vincent E. Norment. Ice Cube did when he got the feedback. And I don't know if you saw this, but he issued a post, I think it was on Instagram, I don't know where, or Twitter. I think I saw it on Twitter, where he basically, responded. But when you said you would take back your vote for Pritzker, you kind of were heading into Ice Cube country there. Do you agree with me?
Well, we talked about this. I kind of disagree with you on this one because I did understand where Ice Cube was coming from. If you're going to sit and you have an agenda, for the people that you represent, and you're not getting any response where you feel from the Democrats at that time, and you get a response from the Republicans. And yeah, we know Donald Trump is Donald Trump, okay? You can't take his word for anything. But I did understand where there was a platform and there was an opportunity to listen to what Ice Cube was bringing to the table. And so he took it. And I'm not blaming him for that. I think that I would have did the same thing, cautiously, very cautiously. But at the end of the day, the black community has suffered, and we all know that the Latino community has suffered, and in general, women are not getting the justice that they deserve too in certain platforms. So again, we got to be a voice for the community. We got to talk about inclusion and fairness and righteousness. So I'm not going to hold him accountable for that. I'm going to, take it as, there was an opportunity. He took it. And, fortunately, I think things have panned out.
Yes, things panned out because the candidate that Ice Cube was sort of endorsing lost, even though he won't admit it. And I hear what you're saying. I listened to his statement that he issued the other day, and you could tell he was upset. You could tell that the criticism he was receiving was stinging, and he didn't. Many people have said that his kind of sort of support for Donald Trump was a result of him appreciating the tax cuts that Donald Trump got the Senate to pass. And let's not kid ourselves, Vincent. Ice Cube is an enormously wealthy man, and those tax cuts undoubtedly saved him a lot of money. But he made a point of saying it wasn't the tax cuts. If people think it's the tax cuts, they don't understand. Okay, well, let it go at that on the tax cut thing. My problem, as I told you before, is that effectively Donald Trump gave him lip service. Donald Trump gave him a pledge that was worthless. So it's basically Donald Trump and Joe Biden had the same response, which was nothing. So giving an accolade to Donald Trump when he has essentially had the same response to your proposal that Joe Biden is sort of like what? Rewarding someone for lying to you. That was my problem with how Ice Cube handled it.
Yeah, I think that was misinformation. I don't think he officially endorsed Donald Trump. Let's say that. I think he vocalized the fact that Donald Trump gave him an opportunity to present his plan for economic, financial development to the government. And so there's a difference. And once he found out that, like you said, lip service was being given, he stepped away from it. Now, people wanted to, say that he flipped, said that he was endorsing Donald Trump, he was supporting it. Like I said, I know Ice Cube, and I know the man, and for the simple fact, that wasn't the case. So again, I stand by him, and that's just it.
All right, let's move on for Ice Cube. We'll probably be having this conversation for the next 30 years, Vincent E. Norman and myself. Let's talk instead about the Cannabis Bill in Congress. Vincent, this is my Republicans, man. What piece of work they are. And this is a bill that would have decriminalized marijuana on a national level. And it's one thing for the state of Illinois to legalize the sale of recreational marijuana, but as long as it's against the law on a national level, from as terms of what the federal government views things, it's always going to undercut the industry, make it that much difficult to get loans, make it that much difficult to operate. The inconsistencies from one state to another just is very problematic. And so the Dems made an effort to decriminalize. It passed in the House. I think mostly Democrats voted for it. The overwhelming majority of Republicans voted no. And then the Senate wouldn't even give it a vote. What do you think's going on here, Vincent, with the games they're playing in Congress?
I think exactly that's what it is. It's games are being played. I call it marijuana games. I think that when we get into 2021, new administration, the campaign and everything, I really believe that this is going to be looked at a little bit more in detail, and the Senate is going to do the right thing. It would definitely help if we get those 2 Senate seats in Georgia. That would pretty much sealed it. But I think some of the senators, with the right pressure, is going to flip and vote for the legalization of marijuana federally. And the reason why is, if you look at it, the red state, Mississippi, voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump, but also voted overwhelmingly for the legalization of medical marijuana. You know, and that happened also in South Dakota as well. You know, so we talk about and kind of the lead in on how the majority of the people in Oklahoma spoke, and then the majority voted for the Republican candidate, Donald Trump. I think a little bit over 60%. But that state, which is a red state, voted for the legalization of medical marijuana, and they're doing quite well. So talk about a role model. Oklahoma is it.
Yeah, talk about that. You sent me the articles. It really caught me off guard. I'd never thought of Oklahoma as being a home base to the cannabis industry, but there's a thriving market in Oklahoma of people growing, cultivating marijuana, and booming business down there. But a lot of people getting hired, a lot of money being made.
Yes, it is. There's a lot of money being made in Oklahoma. You know, there's several black dispensary owners, somewhere in the tune around about 20 in the state. Again, 0 in Illinois. So, I mean, they're giving people the opportunity. We're looking to go down there and set up shop as well and do business in Oklahoma. Partner with some of the people down there and open up dispensaries, craft grow in the cannabis space in the industry. So yeah, they have the model. They're doing quite well. Black and brown folks, women, definitely a lot of women dispensary owners as well. So when you look at it, and I say Oklahoma is the model, sometimes I get resistance. People say, well, but it's the Wild Wild West. Well, I'll tell you what, I'd rather see people of color, women, have the opportunity to open up a dispensary or a craft grow license or infuse or whatever, than to have people of color being just financially overpriced. In other words, the stakes are so high that, financially they can't even get in the game. States like Florida, which is a multi-state operator, but you got to have somewhere around about $3 or $4 million just to even get at the table.
Well, the curious thing about Oklahoma, and the curious thing in general about the way the cannabis plays out politically, is that, as you said, Oklahoma's a red state, voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. And the prevailing attitude among Republicans in Congress is that they're opposed to decriminalizing marijuana, not even legalizing it, just decriminalizing it. And overwhelming vote against the measure by the Republicans in the House of Representatives. Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader, the Republican leader of the Senate, would not even let it come to the floor. He made fun of the House of Representatives for passing it, saying we have far more important things to do in the middle of a pandemic than to pass marijuana legislation. And the 5 Democrats in the House who voted against it, Vincent, are all from swing districts, like Sherry Bustos here in Illinois, or Connor Lamb in Pennsylvania, and Chris Pappas, who also voted against it. And it's like, the notion is that somehow or other, MAGA, Donald Trump people are against marijuana, but when you see it actually in Oklahoma, they're rushing to embrace it. So I don't quite understand the mindset. Help me out with this one, Vincent. Why do Republican politicians and Democratic politicians still cling to this notion that to look tough on law and order, you got to be against the legalization of marijuana or even the decriminalization of it, when in fact, most people seem to be totally open-minded, even MAGA people, to having legal marijuana? Go ahead, help me understand this.
So here's the problem. let's lock up the same amount of white folks as we locking up, and I say in percentage-wise, as we locking up black folks, Latinos. Let's start locking them up and see how quick the Senate and see how quick the opinions change, you know. So, you know, what I mean by that is if 13% or a little bit over 13% of the population is black, and 70% is white, then let's lock up the same percentage that we lock up with blacks as we lock up with whites. And that'll solve that problem. The bottom line is, you know, black people are looked at with no value whatsoever. They contribute to the prison system, which is a business. It's unfortunately, but, you know, I think going into 2021, there's going to be a lot of discussion, and a lot of folks going to be let out, that should be let out, prison for marijuana use or possession, any of those things. And the bottom line is, you know, we have to continue to have this conversation, and we have to continue to start valuing black and brown people, Latinos in this country, and that's it. And if that doesn't happen, you know, as Malcolm X said once about a time, you know, we have to revolutionize. You know, that's just it. Something's going to have to change. So I think when white people start feeling to be a little bit uncomfortable, you know, things will get better. You know, that's unfortunately, but that's the bottom line. You know, too many people are comfortable right now, and that shouldn't be. We should be screaming at the top of our lungs that, you know, families are being broke up for a plant where, you know, people are trotting on social media carrying pounds of marijuana and selling it in these dispensaries at an alarming rate. You know, that should be an outcry. And people that want to line their pockets continue to line their pockets, continue to look down on, you know, other races and stuff like that. As they say, you know, time will tell. And I really believe karma will come back on that.
By the way, $1 billion industry in Illinois. Tommy Schumer's last article in the Sun-Times, I believe he put it at $1 billion in the state of Illinois in terms of just revenue on legalized marijuana. Just think about that, Vincent. $1 billion.
$1 billion.
And yet they won't decriminalize it in Congress. Just insane. You're right. In the Senate, right. The House voted, the Democrats voted. I just want to point this out. The Democrats voted for it, except for the 5 Democrats who want to act like Republicans. And then they died in, I'll tell you what, I've said this many times, Vincent, Donald Trump is so unorthodox of a politician. I believe he could have come out for the legalization of marijuana, and MAGA would have just flipped on a switch. All those MAGA people who are against it would vote for it in a heartbeat because they do whatever Trump tells them. Okay, so
right. Well, hold on a second. Back up. They voted for the legalization of marijuana.
Yes.
In Mississippi, Congress, the politicians, law enforcement, the clergymen, whoever else you want to name, was totally against the legalization of medical marijuana. But guess what? The people went to vote, and they voted the bill in. So they went actually against the Republicans,
yes,
against the politicians, against the preachers, the clergymen, these ministers that carry these Bibles and with the strong arms of saying, the Lord said. So at the end of the day, come on. Oh man, this is, you know, some of these clergymen need to be, put on the firing line and called out on the carpet too.
You're right. You're right. MAGA even wants it. MAGA wants it, and they. But I tell you what, Trump did have the power because he's so unorthodox. But whatever, it's not on his agenda, and he's leaving office soon anyway. So. we'll see what Biden does with it. All right, you pointed out something to me that had me shaking my head, and that was a movie. I think I saw this movie, Vincent, but it was so bad I put it out of my mind. Couples Retreat, a Vince Vaughn movie. I think it's Dennis's favorite movie he ever saw.
Dennis!
I just do that every now and then, make sure he's listening. Couples Retreat. Tell the folks what they pulled, the stunt they pulled with the poster. You pointed it out to me. I hadn't seen that story. I was sending it to all my friends. I was laughing out loud. Let the people in on it.
Well, again, Hollywood is up to their old tricks. So they initially took a picture of. I'm looking at the photo right now of the 4 couples, one being African Americans, and that was supposed to be the promotional poster for the movie. Well, somebody on the executive level decided to leave the black couple out of the poster and reissued the poster into the media to promote the movie, minus the black guy, the black couple, I should say. And I think that, along with a series of events with Dave Chappelle, calling out HBO Max, CBS Viacom, and actually Netflix to take the Dave Chappelle show off their streaming services, which they did. This allowed this gentleman, actor, to come out and file a lawsuit for this for blatantly racism and discrimination. I mean, it's just so obvious when you look at one poster, he's in it, and the other poster, he's not. And that was the poster that they did the promotions with. And then, we got to think about it. Here we are in the 21st century. I think that movie came out a little bit over maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Nevertheless, even if it came out 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we still had to deal with this. Somebody should be called out on the carpet for this. I don't know who made that decision, but clearly that the top people went along with it. They thought that the movie would sell better by Xing out a black couple. That's so disrespectful. But then again, like I said, here we are again. People are still trying to devalue the black community. It's sad.
Well, the bizarre thing about it, Vincent, is that they put the black couple in the movie in the first place. You know what I'm saying? It's like, let's make sure there's a black couple that's in this movie about a couple's retreat on some paradise island. And having put the black couple in the movie, then they take them off the poster because they think, well, some people may not see the movie if they know there's a black couple in there. So what do they think when the people start watching the movie and they see the black couple? Uh-oh, we're gonna walk out of the movie theater. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
It's.
By the way, the actor was Frizzo Love, the actor that filed the lawsuit. It's a very funny comedian, very outspoken gentleman. And when he did bring up the subject and the topic of the issue about them not being in the poster, this really kind of pissed me off, to just be blunt about it. A Chicagoan, Vince Vaughn, he went to Vince Vaughn, and Vince Vaughn told him, look, don't make waves, just let it go, don't worry about it, and really just, really silenced the young man, the young actor, Mr. Love. And so, can you imagine holding in that information, feeling like, you're going to be blackballed if you speak up, you speak out, and just in general, the mental anguish, that you had to deal with. And then, like I said, finally, he got the courage. And part of it is because of, Dave Chappelle coming out and speaking against Hollywood and some of the ills that they do. So, again, we just need more people to step up and speak out. And then we need people like Vince Vaughn, instead of you saying to him, don't make waves, you should be outraged as well. You should be standing side beside him as a colleague actor. And, I was a Vince Vaughn fan, him being from Chicago, in the Chicago area, Illinois. Now, he's off my list. I just can't support people that continues to perpetuate and allow these things to happen and think that they can continue to function in our society unscathed. So, all you Vince Vaughn fans out there, you need to send some tweets or whatever and let him know that that his actions, will be televised.
Well put, Vincent, because really Vince Vaughn's a powerhouse. What is he going to lose? He comes to he goes to bat for this guy. He's not going to lose anything. You know what I mean? He stands up for his fellow actor. He's not going to lose anything. Just going along in some ways is worse than the people, who promote the injustice in the first place. And, I look at going back to where we began with the Bears and how it's really hard for the Bears to take a stand, because in football, your career could end. There's no guaranteed contracts from an injury. So it's a very violent sport. You know it, Vincent. You played the game. And one injury, you're gone. So think about the Bears had a coach, Mike Ditka, for years. Just the most right-wing, blabbermouth, blowhard. Probably in his heart was prejudiced too. Some of the way he dealt with Richard Dent. And don't say probably. Clearly the players, talked about the culture inside the Bears locker room, on the field, with Ditka, clearly Mike Ditka, he was a racist. Mm-hmm. Just because you, in a climate where you might be working around Black people, Latino people, and stuff like that, in that capacity, he had to. You had to form a football team, and and in that climate, you're going to have Black, and Hispanic players, players of color, and so you have to make that work for you. But do that stop you from being, saying that you're not racist? No, and clearly there were some issues with Mike Ditka. So, people in the know, they know that. And people from the outside looking in, they know that. We had the greatest running back of all time, and you don't give him the ball on the 1 yard line to score a touchdown. And, Mike Ditka to this day, he apologized. I really shouldn't have did it, but, the damage was done. Anyone accept that apology, call me. I'll tell you why you shouldn't. Yeah. Well, Vincent's talking about Walter Payton in 1986 in the Super Bowl. Let him score his Super Bowl. But the point I was going to make, it's so much pressure on a player to speak out against a powerful coach like Mike Ditka, because your contract's not guaranteed. Your career is so short. But so the thing is, if you have power in football, it's like this authority in Hollywood.
Well, just in general, whether you're, an actor or, in the workplace, in the office space, working for AT&T or Amazon or wherever you're at in a position, especially in an executive role, you still should be able to, see the climate that you're in. And if people are not being treated fairly, you should be able to, speak out about that. We could talk about, oh my God, my head's off to the Mexican community for coming out on the young lady that was killed on that base. The family, they fought, they marched, they stayed out there, they stayed on the military. And just recently, I think a couple of days ago, maybe yesterday, the Pentagon fired and suspended 21 top brass on that base because of the way things were handled. The sexual harassment, amongst that young lady, the Latino lady that got killed, and the way that culture was, people continue to allow that to happen. So, we just need more people to step up. We need more people to speak out, and clearly we need more, white people to get involved when you see something that's not taking place. Use your white privilege the right way. But more importantly, like that, it shouldn't be happening anyway. So, like I said, my hat's off to the Latino community for really stepping up and putting pressure on a very, very very, very strong government, military services, and they got results, and so. That's what needs to happen. We need to continue to speak out. We need to continue to put the pressure on them. And, enough of marching. Let's get out the vote. Let's get these people out of office that are not, doing the right thing, taking sides with white supremacists and different other, illegal activities amongst America.
All right, well put. And let's close with this. The NBA season opens right around Christmas time. My beloved Chicago Bulls. My beloved Chicago Bulls that I remain loyal to year after year after year. Are you going to join me in my prediction, Vincent, that come June and July, if the pandemic allows the season to be held, that you and I will be celebrating a Bulls championship victory with the Grant Park Parade? Do you see that in the future for my beloved Chicago Bulls, Vincent Norment?
Let's see the crystal ball here. No. But here we go again. Now, let's look at the Bulls organization. The black coaches that they passed up, listen, I know Billy Donovan, I've had ties with him through Joaquin Noah when he was there at the university. Joaquin Noah played on a sports team that I had in New York, a D-band team, Joaquin Noah and Danny Green. Billy Donovan, he's a really good teacher, in teaching the game. His coaching skills, a little bit questionable. But, if you surround yourself around good coaches, you'll be okay. And he's smart enough to do that. But again, the general manager, the Bulls organization, could have hired Mark Jackson. We talked about this before. Johnson.
Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson. And other qualified African-American coaches. But we have Billy Donovan. We'll see what happens. But again, white power, white privilege, continue the status quo. And man, I'm going to tell you, bro, one day, some of these people that are, that sits in their little alarming chairs in their executive suites, and make these decisions, they're going to pay a heavy price. I hate to see that day come, but, you can't continue to, like Pharaoh, just treat people like they're nothing, So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to continue to fight the fight, no one's perfect out here, but, let's, continue to try to uplift people. Inclusion is so important. Social, financial, economics is so important. Let's treat, Grand Park like Inglewood. Let's the same money you spend out there in some of the upstate, up north communities, Rogers Park and stuff like that. Spend that same money on the west side in Lawndale, in Inglewood, in Roseland. So until that happens, there's still going to be disparity. We got a long way to go.
We do.
But,
all right, so let's start with this. Let's just correct the problem with the Bulls right now. The head coach is Billy Donovan. His chief assistant is Maurice Cheeks, pride and joy of Chicago, DuSable High School. Let's do a flip-flop right now. Okay, let's make Maurice Cheeks the head coach and Billy Donovan the assistant. Will you agree to that, Vincent E. Norment?
I'll be the first one, to say, yay. I think Maurice Cheek is more than qualified to be a head coach. And yeah, I would agree with that, and again, who knows? We'll me personally, I want to give the guy a chance, just like I said again, because of, past relationships. But, it's unfortunate he's in that position, but I would definitely like to see Chicago Bulls hiring a black coach, a qualifying black coach, and we got to stop with the black and white thing. Hire somebody that, is qualified for the job. And, we got some good candidates out there that's black, that's, qualified.
Well, I'm a big fan of Maurice Cheeks. I just have to say that. I remember when he played high school basketball in Chicago, and he played for the Philadelphia 76ers. I always wanted him on the Bulls. He never played on the Bulls. And then he was a head coach several times. I think of your beloved Portland Trailblazers. He was the head coach of the Trailblazers. That was my subtle way of reminding Vincent that he predicted the Trailblazers would get past the Lakers. And that was a very subtle way I did that.
Yeah, I know. It's tough.
So, Vincent, I promised to save a spot for you in Grant Park for that Bulls championship party that's going to take place in July. I got a spot that I will save for you because this is the year my beloved Bulls will win it all. All right, Vincent?
No way.
Yeah.
I hope so. Maybe, we'll see.
We'll see. All right, Vincent, I want you to stay safe and sound and have a great Christmas and New Year's, and I'll be talking to you again in January, I'm sure, all right?
Yes, sir. You take it easy. Happy New Year's. Merry Christmas.
All right, that's the great Vincent E. Norment. D, any got updates for me?
Absolutely, I do. But you picked the Clippers, though, didn't you?
Yes,
in the playoffs? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
What happened to them?
I believe they lost after blowing a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets. I believe that's what happened to them. Yes.
Yeah, similar thing as the Blazers, right? First round, I believe.
No, negatory. The Clippers made it to the second round.
Okay,
so that's where they lost.
So the team you picked was less of a loser. Cool.
Who'd you pick?
Well, I don't know. Who do I look like? James A. Naismith? What's going on here?
No, you were part of the crew. I think you picked the Clippers as well, as I recall.
No, I had the Lakers.
All right. Okay. Okay. If you say so.
Wait, what's that?
If you say so. Okay.
Ben, hold on. Yeah, what? Okay, Ben, we have an update. Newsroom.
Oh.
Newsroom's flagging me down here. All right. This better be good. Hang tight, everybody. I'm going to run to the newsroom. I guess we have an update. Hold on a second, everybody. Hey, give me the story. No, our guests won't give you free weed. Give me this. Free weed. Come on. All right, hey, we got a story. This is a good one. It's a good one here. We have an update. We have, believe it or not, a fair tax update. Say what? Whoa. It's true.
Fair tax update.
And no, this is not a Ben Joravsky show from October or November 2020. An actual fair tax update on December 10th, 2020. The Fair Tax Initiative, a proposed amendment to the Illinois state constitution that would have changed the state income tax from a flat tax to a graduated income tax, did not pass on the November ballot. Now that it's come and gone, I guess it's time now for our elected leaders to weigh in on why the fair tax proposal didn't pass. I mean, if you ask an Illinois conservative, their answer to why the fair tax failed is simple. That's hippie stuff. But an explanation from an Illinois Democrat has a little more substance. And right now, in my face, is a statement from an Illinois Democratic state rep, one of the progressive persuasion, to help us understand why there were so many fair tax no votes. By the way, if you couldn't tell, guys, kind of a slow news day locally, all right? But that's all right. We're making it through. Ben, before we read the statement, remind us of your thoughts on this. Why did the Fair Tax Initiative fail?
Well, Fair Tax Initiative failed in part because, in my humble opinion, Illinois voters do not trust government. That's the fundamental flaw. And so they were wide open to believe the propaganda that was put forth by the wealthiest business people in the state of Illinois. Ken Griffin, got to give the man credit. His message carried through, it prevailed, but they were able to play on the distrust that so many people in the state of Illinois have toward government, so many people in the state of Illinois have toward politicians, that they'll do what they say they're going to do. And by the way, as much as it hurt me when the fair tax went down, and as much as it hurts me to know that my fundamental belief in government is not shared by many people, I understand it when this is why I'm so upset about what Tom Tunney has done. Because this undercuts the credibility of Democrats and people like me who want folks to believe that government will do the right thing. When you see such blatant hypocrisy, Dennis, on the part of government officials, Democratic government officials, my beloved Democratic Party, when they're behaving so hypocritically, it's really easy not to believe them. Vincent, Norment was just talking about that. About how disappointed he was with the Democratic legislators and the Democratic leaders in the state of Illinois to follow through on their promise to make sure that there's social equity when it comes to marijuana dispensaries, try to help people who bore the brunt of the war on drugs. So yes, ultimately, D, it's a disbelief in the integrity of the people who run government that really undercut the fair tax.
Oh, yeah. Those were your thoughts on the fair tax and why it failed.
Yes, those. And with the update for Thomas T. Tunney.
Which, by the way, the T stands for TIFF, according to Mike Girardi. Thomas Tiff Tunney. All right. Well, we heard your thoughts, Ben. Now, let's hear Democratic State Rep Will Guzzardi's thoughts on why the fair tax did so poorly. Wait, who's that on the brown line, Ben?
Hey, Rom!
Oh, it's Rom again.
Yeah, he's back. He's like, yeah, I still got a chance to be transportation secretary. So he kicked Tom Tunney off. Hey, you're done driving this thing. I'm driving.
Rom, pick up the cinnamon roll crumbs.
Yeah, really. Wherever
gosh.
Tunney goes, there's cinnamon roll crumbs everywhere. It's sticky and everything.
Just follow the cinnamon roll crumbs. All right. Will Guzzardi weighed in on why the fair tax did so poorly. Guzzardi said, quote, "I think we didn't communicate effectively with voters. We didn't tell a clear story about why we needed the money and what we were going to spend it on to help people's lives. I think we didn't tell people where to find it on the ballot."
Well,
but wait, there's more. We didn't do a good job of pointing people in the right direction. And we didn't really start communicating with voters at all in a serious way. We let a year go by without campaigning at all on the question. After the General Assembly approved the progressive income tax in the spring of last year and passed the ballot initiative on to voters. More disturbing, however, was the way the anti-tax TV campaign, bankrolled by billionaire Kenneth Griffin, gained traction with voters on the issue of trust in government. Boy, you're right about that one, Guzzardi.
Springfield politicians, they promise they won't tax retirement income if their constitutional amendment passes.
Oh, 2 appearances from Phyllis. It's awesome.
Hold on. Phone call, D.
Oh.
Phyllis, how many times have I told you not to call me when I'm on the air? No. I am not going to ask Vincent E. Norman to give you reefer. Sorry. No. Get it from Kenny G, all right? Sorry, D.
But I like reefer.
All right. Guzzardi continues. I also think we have a credibility problem, a trust problem. Illinois voters really responded to the no messaging about this campaign. You can't trust Illinois Democrats with your money, and that's a real problem for us, and it's going to hinder our ability to solve the state's challenges going forward. So that's something we really have to take a hard look at. Thanks, Will Guzzardi.
Where were these comments made? Does it say?
Let me look.
Was it my beloved bright one? Home delivered as always?
No, it was One Illinois, the site One Illinois.
Oh, One Illinois. Well, can't really argue with anything that Will Guzzardi said there. In fact, the things he said at the end were sort of the things I was saying at the front of the, and this just gets to the Madigan issue. You know, with Michael Madigan at the forefront of the Democratic Party, with Michael Madigan sort of the most prominent Democrat in the state other than J.B. Pritzker, you got some credibility issues there, you know? And it's really hard for Democrats to get people outside of Chicago to sign on to their party and their party's initiatives when there's so much distrust for the leaders of the party, particularly Madigan. And I know a lot of that's unfair, and I know that the caricature of Michael Madigan is a paid-for product bought by people like Ken Griffin and Bruce Runner. I understand how the game was played and what they did, but that's the reality. Guzzardi's one of the 19 Dems who says he won't vote for Speaker Madigan. We'll see if he stands to that when push comes to shove next year, when they have the Speaker vote. But that's the reality, and the Democratic Party has allowed itself to be hypocritical. I mean, I was about to say to appear to be hypocritical, but no, it's hypocrisy. You know, so in so many instances, so many moments where they say rules for thee, not for me. This is the way it's going to be, and then they go differently. That
was a little wicked rhyme there.
You know, all that talk about Ice Cube with Vincent E. Norment. You know, by the way, Vincent says he's going to do his best to get Ice Cube on the show. Wouldn't that be great?
On our show? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. That'd be something
else. He'd
He'd
probably hang up in like 3 hours. Right, screw this.
You hippie. Hang up. You know. No.
Get a camera.
That would be amazing if Ice Cube came on the show. Anyway, but no, the hypocrisy of the Democrats just comes through time and time again. You know, and it's really hurting. The initiatives that the Democrats support makes it that much more difficult to get equity in terms of taxes in this state. So now, I said it earlier, you know, we talked about this with the Legislative Black Caucus in Springfield endorsing Madigan, and they say Madigan will help get a tax hike through. Yeah, the tax hike on everybody at the same rate, so that Dennis and Ben and Vincent E. Norman pay the same rate as Kenny G. That's not fair, but that's where we are. So there were a lot of technical reasons and logistical reasons that Will Guzzardi was alluding to. They stumbled out of the gate. They didn't promote the fair tax nearly enough. They didn't explain what it is. The name itself was confusing. The position on the ballots altered from one district to another. You know, the elected officials themselves didn't want to stick their neck out and support it. They saw I was going to lose, so they retreated. So what? You don't support it, but you expect voters to support it? And then there were the elected officials who said, this part kills me. I believe in the fair tax. I want to support it, but we're held in such low esteem that if we support the fair tax, it'll probably hurt it. Well, that about sums it all up for my beloved Democratic Party. So, D, we have a lot of problems, my Democratic Party. It's part of the reason why the Republicans were able to do as well as they did in this last general election. I mean, right now, they're still in charge of the Senate. We'll see what happens in Georgia. They picked up seats in the House. They held on to many state legislative seats throughout the country. You know, there was a vote for Joe Biden. Yes, he defeated Donald Trump, but it's as though the voters were not ready to give the Democrats their full endorsement. They held back because, like, they don't trust the Dems. And this people go, why do you love Bernie so much? Well, because at least Bernie told you what he believed in. This is what he wanted to do. And Bernie gave voters like a very definite reason to vote for him. Like, This is like a very substantial thing he's talking about, a substantive thing, Medicare for all. You know what I mean? Eliminate college debt. It's something that people, I will get something for voting for Bernie Sanders. Ultimately, he didn't prevail in the Democratic Party. My candidate lost. But I always make that argument that if you stand up for something really concrete and you don't bend with the winds, people will respect that. And so it's really hard at this moment for the Democratic Party to have the respect that I would like it to have because its leaders seem so inconsistent. Speaking of you, Tom Tunney, you know, its leaders act as though they're rules they don't have to follow. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that from the disaster of the fair tax, emerges a new, more vital Democratic Party? I don't know. I don't know what's more likely, that to happen or my beloved Bulls to win the NBA championship in July. I don't know which one's going to happen first, D. Both long shots. By the way, while I was talking there, I was thinking about how the Republicans did so well in congressional seats and legislative seats and Senate seats. And D, I'm just shaking my head. They're taking that argument to the Supreme Court. So bizarre. I'll kind of end where I began the show. I began the show by talking about the Republican argument before the Supreme Court. They want the Supreme Court to reverse the elections in states that Biden won so that Donald Trump will effectively get to stay in office as president. Just undo the will of the voters on the grounds that there was fraud. We can't see the fraud, but we believe there's fraud. And yet at the same time, in that same election, all these Republicans won. If there was so much fraud, how did all these Republicans win? You know what I mean? It's like he threw out all these ballots. How could the Republicans, all these Republican ballots, how could they possibly have won? God, just one more example, one more piece of evidence of how insane the Republican argument is that they're advancing to the Supreme Court. And yet MAGA loves it. So Democrats have to figure out a rallying cry that their base will love as much as MAGA loves whatever nonsense Donald Trump is feeding them. And that's such a disadvantage because Dems are always fighting, D. You know that? They're always fighting. You don't see any Dems running well, that's not true. I was about to say, you don't see any Dems running to the defense of Tom Tunney. First of all, what defense could you possibly come up with? Although MAGA comes up with defenses for Trump all the time.
And those cinnamon rolls are delicious.
Yes, but as soon as I said that, I go, what are you talking about, Ben? In the 44th Ward, we love him. He's our alderman. His cinnamon rolls are so good. Anyway, my beloved Democratic Party. Will Gazzardi, I got to agree with you. Your analysis was on target.
All right, there we go. All right, showing a little love there to Gazzardi. That's good. I'm watching you, Gazzardi. He's on the bus, guys, the Madigan bus here. I'm watching you. You're staying on. It's looking like he's trying to run off this bus.
I think he's sneaking out the back door.
Hey, lock the back.
Gazzardi. Is no one looking? I'm going out that back door.
Yeah, dang Gazzardi. But there it was. From out of nowhere, an Illinois fair tax update.
Fair tax update.
Springfield politicians, they promise they won't tax.
All right, Phyllis, that's enough.
Phyllis, come on. All right. I may put a good word into Vincent E. Norment for you. Just one good word. All right.
Remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows, Benny J bonus interviews, and so much more at the Chicago Reader website, chicagoreader.com. Do a little /Joravsky, and it'll take you right there, or wherever else you download your favorite podcast. Over 600 episodes of the Ben Joravsky Show. Okay, guys? So go check it out and maybe catch up on some episodes you may have missed. Also, we live stream the program Tuesdays through Fridays, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Time at the Chicago Reader YouTube channel. Shout out to our live stream community. You guys are awesome. Love every single one of you. It seems like a lot of you guys have found us over on the YouTube channel. If you listen on the download, check it out sometime if you got nothing going on, all right? Tuesday through Friday, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Time, the Ben Joravsky Show live. At Benny J Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, BennyJShow@gmail.com, and call us 708-658-4788.
Aren't you going to say the number again?
That number again.
708-658-4788. We'd love to hear from you.
I want to thank Vincent E. Norment for an outstanding job. And, of course, I want to thank the man, the myth, the legend, the pride of joy of all Illinois, without whom this show would be possible, as Vincent E. Norment and Phyllis will tell you. Back home in Alton, they call him Dr. D. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.